You're listening to the Sports Brothers podcast by Sam and Brian Dostal. Everything sports, all the time.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
And that is one of my favorite songs now. Farnell Williams makes me happy, pumps me up every time I hear it, Sam.
That's cool.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. I always think of the UConn video.
It's very much overplayed now, though.
Hey, it makes me smile. It makes me dance.
It does.
It makes me happy. That's for sure.
Takes me back to the national championship game in Dallas. They played that song around probably the 8-minute timeout, the under 8 timeout of the national championship game, and you can go on YouTube and check it out. There's a great video, a father and a son. They have a whole choreographed dance routine to it. Place goes nuts. Only time the whole place is cheering for the same thing.
I've heard that story so many times.
Well, our valued listeners haven't, Brian.
Actually, some of them probably have.
Some of them maybe, but you know what? For those of them who haven't,
there you go. All right, good day to you, and welcome back to the Sports Brothers podcast.
By the way, I got my question. You're not going to get it.
Okay, all right, that's what we say every time. That is going to be coming up something, bro, later. And Sam's already our 7th show of this podcast of the summer. Wow, I messed up my words there. I wonder how many we're going to get in. I have no idea how many we're going to get in.
Just going to keep rolling with it.
Just going to keep going with it. And again, I'm Brian Dostal, and I'll be joined, as we've already talked, with the voice of Central Connecticut State Women's Central. Let's just start this podcast over. I'm going to
just keep rolling. We're
right.
Good. We had a good banter going.
I know we did, and I have messed up my words.
Why would you throw in that? Like the voice of Central Connecticut women's basketball, Sam Dostler. All right, today, June 2nd, 2014, 1:01 p.m., a little late today, and also we didn't get to do the podcast yesterday because somebody had work. And
that'd be me.
Yeah, I had quite the day with work yesterday.
You were a special guest at work yesterday.
Yeah, I was. My former employer, the Country Club of Farmington, had to come and get the GPS because, shout out to the MIAA, they decided to change the boys volleyball state semifinal game that I was going to cover over the weekend from Tuesday to Monday, and found out at 5:30, or more like 5:15, and it's an hour-and-a-half drive up to Hudson, Massachusetts. So it's good stuff.
Did you get there on time?
I missed the first few points. It was like 5:02 when I walked in, so I did pretty good. Because you know what helped was they do the player introductions and all that stuff, so that it takes a little longer to get the game underway.
All right.
Anyways, to the sports that people want to know about.
Yeah. Here we go. We're going to talk about some Stanley Cup. NBA Finals. Derek Fisher, he just recently agreed to become the New York's head coach. Kentucky head coach John Calipari turns down a mega contract from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Belmont Stakes and California Chrome. Maria Sharapova and Rafael Nadal, they win the French Open. Sam will give us a quick U.S. Open preview, which starts on Thursday along with the World Cup, and a quick MLB update. And then our show will end with Stump the Bro as usual. So we got a lot about to talk today. We're going to get through all of this. Not as quick as possible, but we're going to get through it. First, Stanley Cup Finals. The Los Angeles Kings have taken a commanding 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals over the New York Rangers. We've already discussed Game 1. They managed to beat the Rangers 5-4 in Game 2 in double overtime in Los Angeles on Saturday. And then last night, they won in the Garden, Madison Square Garden, 3-0 in Game 3. And Sam, in Game 2, just real quick, the Rangers, they had the lead. They had 2 goal leads 3 different times, and they still managed to lose this game. That can't happen.
You're talking about Game 2
Game
there.
2,
yeah,
yes.
No, and they had a 2-0 lead in Game number 1. They had their chances. They really outplayed the Kings for those first 2 games, and you could almost argue that in a way they outplayed them last night. The Rangers only have the Kings had just 15 shots on net, and Jonathan Quick made 3 outstanding saves last night. He made his saves were the top 3 plays on SportsCenter's top 10 today. Number 3, number 2, and number 1 all were Jonathan Quick, and each save got better and better and better. And he's a goalie who he's on a streak like he was in 2012. He hasn't allowed a goal since the second period of Game 2. That includes 2 overtimes, a third period, and in Game 2, and of course the 3 periods last night.
And in Game 3, it was, as you mentioned, Jonathan Quick, who was fantastic. The Kings, they only had 15 shots on goal, but 3 of them went behind the net for goals. And, Sam, when you talk about how great Quick was, it's got to be frustrating for the Rangers on their side because they had 32 shots on goal, and they doubled the amount of shots on goal that the Kings did, and they still come up with a loss.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, but, in hockey, in baseball you always talk about you go as far as your pitching, and in hockey a lot of times you go as far as your goalie, and Quick has just been simply outstanding. Henrik Lundqvist, he's been very good as well, one of the best goalies in the game. But when you got a goalie like Quick on a roll that he is on now, it's very tough to beat.
Jonathan Quick, who is from Hamden, Connecticut, and went to Avon Farms High School. Here are his thoughts after the game.
Playoff hockey game. We were trying to win a hockey game, and we did a lot of things the right way, and we were able to do that. So, now we get ready for the next one. The fourth one's always the most difficult. So,
and Quick being, very smart about his comments, saying, we're happy with the results in the first 3 games, but Sam, they're worried about Game 4 and getting that 4th clinching victory, which is always the hardest one to get.
It is always the hardest one. There's been one team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in NHL history, and the Rangers, they're going to look to be the second team. Los Angeles, they already did that earlier in this postseason. They were down in the first round of the playoffs, came back. I believe it was against San Jose, I want to say. They were down 3-0, came back, won that series. So it's doable. The Rangers started at home. They're at home for game number 4, which is where you want to be, and, get a win there. And as Kevin Millar said when the Red Sox came back against the Yankees in 2004 in the ALCS, don't let us win today. And all they can do is take it one game at a time and just try to extend this thing as long as possible.
And just
and it's too bad because it was a good series through the first 2 games.
It was.
There were a lot of eyeballs on the series. Mm-hmm. 2 very good markets: the New York market, of course, the Los Angeles market, and this one. This is when you start to have eyeballs leave the TV set, and we're getting into the thick of summer now, so a lot of other things that people can be doing.
And we mentioned how kind of, especially for Rangers fans, the game didn't go all that well for him. It's the first Stanley Cup final game at Madison Square Garden since 1994 when the Rangers defeated the Vancouver Canucks 4-3 in Game 7 of the 1994 finals. And, obviously a lot of excitement going into the game, but didn't end well for Rangers fans. Okay, now to the NBA Finals, which was a heck of a game in San Antonio. And the Miami Heat came out with a Game 2 victory, winning 98-96 to even the series up at 1 apiece. And Sam, LeBron James, he was criticized, as he always is after the Game 1 loss, with cramping up because of the lack of air conditioner. But in Game 2, he stepped up big time.
Oh, did he ever step up big time? What a game for LeBron. Just 2 points in that first quarter. But after that, simply fantastic. And especially in the second half, that stretch he had in the third quarter where he was just hitting jump shot after jump shot, contested jump shots too. A hand-in-the-face jump shots. And that's exactly what the Heat needed. With him on the floor, they're such a different team. They're minus 24 when LeBron sits on the bench during the series, and he really put his team on his back and took care of business in that game too.
And the Heat, they didn't have to take a lead until the second quarter when LeBron made a layup with 5:07 left, and it was tied 43-43 at halftime. And Sam, you mentioned LeBron's third quarter. He scored 14 points in that quarter. He finished 27 for the game, but he scored 12 of 13 points at one point and just took over the game. And
it turned the game around for the Heat because the Spurs it was a close game, but it seemed like the Spurs were in control, at least in my mind.
I agree.
Until LeBron took over, and it really set the tone for the Heat for the rest of the night.
And in the fourth quarter, Tony Parker and Tim Duncan, they both missed 2 free throws apiece that turned out to be huge. So they went 0 for 4 in I believe it was a 9-second span.
Yeah, I was going to say it couldn't have been too long because it was Parker got fouled on the drive by Chalmers, or they called the flagrant, and he couldn't hit any free throws. And then on the possession right after, or on that possession after the Spurs got the ball. Duncan went to the line and missed those 2 free throws, and like you said, that's something you cannot do. You need to make free throws. Parker, a very good foul shooter, of course, and Duncan, a guy who is improved on that foul shot over the course of the last few years, and you would expect him to make at least one, and those are 4 big points that they left off the board.
Yeah, certainly you want to capitalize on those free throws. After a Chris Anderson layup, Tony Parker, he had a three-pointer with 2:26 left in the game. That was the Spurs' last lead. That was 93-92. Kawhi Leonard, he fouled out with 47 seconds left.
He's got to be better, though, doesn't he?
He does.
You got the Spurs brass, Popovich, the front office, talking about how once Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Duncan move on, how Kawhi Leonard's going to be the face of the franchise. He can't have the performances that he's been having through the first 2 games in the series. He's been a non-factor on the offensive end. He's been in foul trouble. He has to be better. He needs to step up tonight on the road for the Spurs to have a chance to pick up what would be a huge road win. I mean, they can't lose these 2 games on the road.
Can't.
They have to split. I expect them to split, but they need Kawhi Leonard to play a big role in that.
Rashard Lewis, he had 14 points on the day, and he came up big. I mean, you need guys. I mean, he started, but he's a role player certainly. And 14 points from a veteran like Rashard Lewis. I mean, obviously he was the go-to guy in Orlando in years past, but
and Seattle.
And Seattle. But now, he's a guy that just kind of get here and there. And 14 points, that's big.
Yeah, it is, and he just floats outside that arc, and he has the ability to knock down that three-pointer. He's perfect for what the Spurs need right now, or excuse me, for what Miami needs. With LeBron, James, and Dwayne Wade both drive and attack guys, it sucks the defense in, and it's perfect for Rashard Lewis, who just stands out there, and he's been knocking down the open jumper.
And in the fourth quarter, Chris Bosh, he had that three-pointer.
Again,
and it's the same play.
Always that same play. He always floats out to that right wing, doesn't he? You've seen it so many times, not only this postseason, but throughout the Big Three era in Miami.
And I was just thinking about this, as I was looking at my notes, and I knew I was going to talk about it. It was the same play that Miami drew up in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals when LeBron passed it out and, criticized for not. Yeah. It was the same exact play, but Bosh missed that three-pointer.
Bosh was wide open last night.
But for the other night, Bosh was open, and he drove the three.
And it was a different situation as well. But, yeah, a very, very similar play. It's what the Heat like to do. They like to have Bosh float out to that right corner coming down the stretch.
LeBron James, I said he had 27 points. He had 35 points, 10 rebounds. I messed up there. He had 27 points through 3 quarters, so he had 8 in the fourth quarter. And Chris Bosh, he had 18 points since Game 4 versus Indiana. So the last 5 games, Bosh is averaging 21.2 points per game and 7.2 rebounds. He has certainly stepped up big time for the Heat. Dwayne Wade, he couldn't get it going early, but he did finish with 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. And, Wade, he has the 3 rings, and he's looking for a 4th, and let's see if he can get it this season.
He just got fined $5,000 for the flop in game number 2, and that was blatant.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
And it's a tough situation. I was just watching the video a couple minutes ago, and the officials running by, and it's one of those things where you can't see everything that happens on the floor. So he didn't see the initial swipe by Ginobili. He just sees the head jerk back by Wade, and it's something he sees in his peripheral vision. I think they got to do something. They're trying the fines, but come on, what's $5,000 really to Dwayne Wade?
That's nothing.
I think you got to do something where if you flop, the league has the ability to, because everybody knew it was a flop with replay 30 seconds after it happened. Not even. Maybe you give the guy a personal foul after the fact, I mean, they got to do something to get it out of the game, don't they?
I think it's tough because then
the fines aren't doing it.
Because if you go to the video monitor again for plays like that.
I'm not saying the officials stop, but someone back in New York, there's people watching the game, and they're watching, and they say, oh, that's a flop. Because you can tell right away when that's a flop. I mean, they knew this was a flop.
Yes, I will say, on that one, it was clearly, blatantly obvious that it was a flop. But, there are times where
that's the way to get it out of the game.
I don't know. I'm not really too thrilled about having a personal foul from a guy from New York. I don't know about.
Then don't flop.
I don't know if I'm not a big fan of that. All right, so the Heat, they won 98-96. Game 3 will be tonight, 9 o'clock on ABC, and this is just continuing to be a great series, Sam.
It has. Both the first two games that have been tightly contested. The Spurs, of course, pulled away late at the end of Game 1, but I don't see any reason why the game tonight won't be just as tight. These teams know each other pretty well. They've felt each other out through the first two games, and I think you're going to see a split. This series has the feel of, if it doesn't go 7, it's certainly going to go 6. And I think the Spurs will win either tonight or in game number 4, and this thing will be tied up at 2 apiece when we go back to San Antonio for game number 5, which is exactly what everybody wants.
How big is Game 3? Apparently it's huge. The Game 3 winner of a tied NBA Finals series goes on to win the series 83% of the time. So that team is 30-6. So it seems whoever wins tonight will eventually win the NBA Finals. Derek Fisher, the 39-year-old Oklahoma City Thunder point guard.
What did he finish playing, a week ago?
Yeah, a week ago, whatever, when the Thunder lost to the Spurs, will become the 26th head coach in New York Knicks history. Fisher signed a 5-year, $25 million deal to become the head coach yesterday. Sam, your immediate thoughts with this move?
You know, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it, because I was listening to various people talk about it yesterday, and you look at a guy like Jason Kidd, who he was a star. I don't know. It's an interesting move. I think
the difference between Jason Kidd and Derek Fisher, Kidd, he was going to a more talented team. Fisher, he has to build a team here.
There's a difference.
That's a big difference.
There's a difference, because where Kidd went, there's established players. You need to coach, but you don't have to coach as much, because they know what's happening. While Fisher, you're going in and you're taking command of a team that's expected to be bad. They're not expected to be any good at all. Maybe they sneak into the 8th playoff spot or 7th playoff spot just because it's the East with Fisher, but it's not going to be. I mean, the Nets, people thought, could make a run at the finals. The Knicks aren't doing that, with or without Carmelo Anthony. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I don't mind it, just in the fact that he's a Phil Jackson guy, and Phil Jackson wanted someone who he could trust. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if it doesn't work out, it's worth a shot.
I watched Derek Fisher's press conference early this morning, and he did say, I've never been the best player on my team. So I was never relied on, so I was essentially kind of already a coach. I mean, that's what he said. And it does make sense, because, I mean, he played under Phil Jackson for 5 NBA titles with Kobe Bryant and some of them with Shaq, and he wasn't the best player. He would be a guy come off the bench, or he would start, and he'll be the facilitator as the point guard. And, I can see where he's coming from there.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's one of those things where and being from Connecticut, we heard Kevin Ollie talk a lot about it, former guard in the NBA, how you're only gonna get limited minutes. Obviously, Fisher played more minutes than Ollie and played starters minutes at times. But when you're the type of player that, and Ollie talked about where he studied everybody, so he knew exactly what the opponent would do. So he knew them inside and out. So when he did play those 5-10 minutes a game, he could make an impact. And that's something that it seems like Derek Fisher did throughout his career. So he would be able to make the impact. He turned himself into a nice little outside shooter late in his career to keep himself still relevant. But he did the little things that allowed him to stay on the floor and be a contributor to 5 world championships.
So how about this, Sam? Jason Kidd, he played for the New York Knicks 2 seasons ago now. Then, this season he was the Brooklyn Nets coach, and now Fisher, Oklahoma City, now the Knicks head coach. These point guards, these floor generals, these guys that are leaders on this team are becoming coaches now, much like catchers are in Major League Baseball. Mike Matheny, he was a catcher, now manager of the Cardinals. Brad Ausmus. So
Joe Torre was a catcher.
Are we going to be seeing this?
Bruce Bochy.
Maybe more and more.
It seems like we're heading that way, doesn't it? Because you look at a guy like Patrick Ewing, who has been an NBA assistant for years now. He's interviewed for head coaching jobs, and he was a big, of course, and he's never gotten a serious look at as a head coach. I was listening to some different things today on ESPN radio, and they were talking about how people believe Ewing's good at teaching the game, but he's just never gotten that chance. And it seems like they are giving the point guards more of the chance. Kevin Ollie in the college game got a chance with UConn. Fred Hoiberg was a guard for Iowa State in the NBA. He's now the head coach at Iowa State. Rick Pitino was a guard. The list just goes on and on of guards getting these positions because they're the ones who have to know what everybody on the floor is doing. Same with the catcher in baseball. They have to know where players are supposed to be positioned. They have to know their pitching staff. They have to know the batters. They know all the little details of the game. So it makes sense that these guys are getting the positions, doesn't it? I mean,
it does. No, I agree. I completely agree because, I mean, the point guard always has to be, the coach on the floor. They're the ones running the offense or the ones running the plays.
They're the ones who have to make sure everybody's in the right position.
Yep, and that's how it's always been and always will be. And I think we will see this trend. I mean, just hearing all those names that you mentioned with Kevin Ollie, Fred Hoiberg, so and so, really is true. When you sit back and think about how many point guards are coaches. I mean, you're not going to see. I mean, I don't think you'll see Kevin Durant as a coach. I mean,
you could.
I don't. I mean, Michael. I mean, I don't think he'll ever be a coach, but it's.
And you think of it, Kevin McHale. He's a coach, but he's one of the few bigs that are coaches.
Yeah.
It'll be.
Okay, Dwight Howard. He won't. I don't think he'll be a coach.
I don't know if that's your best example.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to throw out names.
No, yeah, but you're right. You don't see many coaches. You think I worked with the Springfield Armor this year. Doug Overton, a former guard in the league, and he got the head coaching job of the Armor without really any coaching experience. So it's something that's happening quite frequently, and the thing is, these coaches have been pretty successful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jason Kidd was fairly successful, especially the second half of the season. Ollie's been successful. We didn't even mention Steve Kerr. He was a guard as well, getting the head coaching position for Golden State. So a lot of these guys, Mark Jackson, he was successful, although he did get fired. So these guys have been successful, these guards. So there's no reason that this trend won't continue for the foreseeable future.
And just a little quick note on Derek Fisher, which I didn't know. He played his college ball at Arkansas Little Rock, and he was a Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year in 1996. So I learned that today when I was doing my research here. All right, so John Calipari, Sam. Much news was made about him yesterday, and it was about the contract that he did not take. Last April, he signed an extension with the Kentucky Wildcats to remain the head coach, 7 years, $52 million. But yesterday, news came out that he turned down a 10-year, $80 million deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very interesting.
It is. If you look at it, and it's one of those things where you're in a great spot at Kentucky. Yeah, the Kentucky fans can be a little much at times, a little overbearing, but your job security at Kentucky is very good. He just went to his second finals this year. He won a championship in 11. He's been to numerous Final Fours, and he gets the top players every year. And it's just a much easier job, I think, than going to the NBA and trying to rebuild the Cleveland team. If he knew LeBron was coming for a fact, I think you would have seen him go, but LeBron's not going back to Cleveland. I don't know why people keep bringing that up.
I think he's staying in Miami,
He's
too.
in a great spot with Miami, and I think in the end, Calipari realized that he's pretty well off with money. If he's managing his money right, he's fine. So why leave what's comfortable?
And if you're a Kentucky fan, you have to be pleased on two accounts. One, Calipari doesn't leave your school, your favorite team. And two, and more importantly, it shows that Calipari, he went deep into discussions with an NBA team, but he elected not to go to the NBA. And that shows dedication, that shows loyalty to the program and the school. And, that's what you want because guys like Calipari, I mean, Mike Krzyzewski has been in there, Kevin Ollie now. These coaches, every offseason, there's rumors. Billy Donovan, there's been rumors about, potentially going to an NBA team. But with this statement here for Kentucky fans, you have to be pleased with this.
No, I think if a team like Oklahoma City or Houston, someone with some established stars and playoff experience were to come knocking on his door, things might be a little different.
Fair enough.
I think a big point is he doesn't want to go through the rebuilding. Why should he go through
Why
rebuilding
bother?
when he has the ability to win right now at Kentucky?
He has, you could argue, an NBA team on.
Right.
He's had 9 All-Americans next
Right.
season, which I still can't get over. All right, you are listening to the Sports Brothers podcast, and you can listen to us off our YouTube channel, The Sports Brothers, from our Twitter page, and from our website, thesportsbrothersblog.wordpress.com. And every so often we got some polls up there, and the last one was California Chrome. I believe you got 5 or 6 votes, which seems to be your average. So we thank you for those that are voting. And please give us criticism. We want to hear, how
Critique.
There you go.
Put a more positive spin on
Okay.
it. Critique us in any way that you feel that you want to.
Because we hear people, good job. Well, that doesn't really help us. If you really truly think that, we need to work on something, add something to the show, please let us know. All right, so for the rest of the show, we're going to talk about California Chrome, the French Open, the U.S. Open. Sam will discuss that, a little bit of the World Cup MLB update, and then our Stump the Bro question. And California Chrome, Sam, on Saturday, he could not complete history. He did not win the Belmont Stakes. He was tied for 4th, as it was disappointing. It was.
It was. I was lucky I got to watch it, actually, covering some high school baseball. Stayed a little while longer to watch it on the old laptop, but you could just feel the anticipation in the air at the Belmont. The crowd was completely amped up, and California Chrome, he got caught behind a few horses for much of the race. He couldn't break free like he had been earlier in the Triple Crown races, and it cost him at the end. And when that race finished, you could just feel the air.
The crowd, it was just shock.
There was nothing. It was just dead. It was all the hope and excitement was just completely gone. It was like a balloon had been popped.
And it was Tonales that took the Belmont Stakes crown. And immediately following the race, NBC interviewed the owner of California Chrome, Steve Coburn, and he had some very strong and interesting comments, basically saying that, he's 60. He was saying, I'm 61 years old, and I'll never see Triple Crown winner because of the format that is set up. It's not fair that there's horses that have not raced in the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown, and now they're in the Belmont, because if there is ever a horse that has the first 2 wins, they're going to be targeting that horse and making sure they don't get it. I can see his point, but Sam, that's just not the right time and place to make those statements.
No, it certainly, and he has since apologized. He went on Good Morning
has.
America the other day and apologized for that. But even with the apology, it makes you look like a sore loser.
Yeah, it really does.
And they had been such a darling story with the horse. They bought him for relatively cheap in the racing game, $10,000, which is like my life savings. But anyways, they studded the horse for cheap. The whole process, it was a story that the country really did latch onto, and for him to
end it that way
was disappointing. And his wife was trying to tell him just shut it.
Yeah,
stop.
Because I was watching the interview, and she was behind him, and she was trying to tap him okay, don't say any more, and
And this is one of those things where you have the 3 weeks in between. If you want to say it, say it a week after the Preakness,
Yeah.
Say it before the race, because I'm sure that's how he was feeling before the race even happened, and it just boiled over at the end. But you got to pick your time. Say it in the press conference the week before. That's when you got to do it. Not after you lose.
As far as the system with, fresh horses coming into the Belmont, hey, if that's what they've been doing, that's what makes it so difficult to win the Triple Crown. That's what makes it so great if you do win. It's been 36 years that a horse hasn't won the Triple Crown, and it was happened relatively often in the 60s, 70s, which is why they changed it to this way. And I don't think they should change it. Hopefully, these comments don't make the horse racing committee change it, but because I like it how it is. I think it would be too easy. I wouldn't say too easy, but obviously it would be less difficult for a horse to win if it was all just the same 20.
The only way that I could see, the only change that I would agree with is the one where he said, the only horses that should be allowed to run in the Belmont are the ones that qualified for the Kentucky Derby. That's the only one I could see. Other than that, I think the schedule's fine. That's the only change that I could see them making, is only allowing the horses that ran in the Derby run in the other 2 Triple Crown races.
Now we head to France in the French Open. Maria Sharapova, she won the 2014 French Open.
Boy, and she had to fight her way through that.
Yeah, she did.
She got down a lot in the later parts of the tournament, and she really fought and scrapped her way to that title. Impressive win for Sharapova.
She defeated Simona Halep 6-4, 6-7, 6-4. It's Sharapova's second French Open championship. She also won it back in 2012. It's her 5th Grand Slam title of her career. And after the match, she was very she had some interesting comments. Just listen here.
If somebody had told me that I would win at some stage in my career, that I'd have more Roland Garros titles than any other Grand Slam, I'd probably go get drunk. Or tell them to get drunk.
Sam, you heard the last of those comments, and maybe not exactly what you wanted to say.
I've heard them, and I just don't know where she was going with that.
No.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe she doesn't like clay, and,
I don't know.
But, hey, whatever. I mean, she won, so
congratulations.
She won it.
She has the trophy, and
Yeah.
she probably went out and got drunk afterwards.
Probably. All right, on the men's side, Rafael Nadal won his 9th French Open final, including his 5th straight, Sam. That is really, truly remarkable. He defeated Novak Djokovic in 4 sets, 3-6, 7-5, 6-2, 6-4. And the legacy is really kind of
cemented.
Yeah.
I mean, he's quickly moving up. I think that's his 9th French Open title. He's got 9 like you said. He's got 14 career Grand Slam titles now. Only 5 of them coming at other places.
Only.
But right, that's better than a lot of careers. But yeah, he's shown that he's one of the greats of all time, and the way he's playing, if he can stay healthy, he has a chance of surpassing Roger Federer.
And Roger Federer, he has 17 Grand Slam titles, so only 3 away. And Federer is on the decline.
He certainly is on the decline. I think this Wimbledon, though, is a very good chance for Roger to make a bit of a run because it is such a quick turnaround between tournaments. June 23rd, Wimbledon starts, just a couple weeks after the French Open ends. They're going to add in an extra week starting next year between the 2 tournaments. But Federer, who bowed out early of this French Open, he's had a chance to rest while couple weeks to rest while some of these other top guys, Djokovic, Nadal, they've been battling. They've been playing long, grueling sets. So we'll see if Roger can make a bit of a run at a tournament that's been very kind to him over the years.
And after the French Open final, here's Nadal, and he talks about how important it is to him to win at Roland Garros.
Always for me is the same. For me, the most important thing is win Roland Garros. That's the most important thing. Then the other things sure are important, but the other things I always repeat the same. We will see when I finish my career how many Grand Slams I have.
So congratulations to both Sharapova and Nadal on their French Open.
I'm sure they're going to cherish that. Congratulations.
Yes, you. I'm sure. I'm sure they appreciated that.
You can tweet the thing at them or podcast at them and tell them to listen at the end.
That's very true. All right, now to some golf, some links golf. The U.S. Open at Pinehurst in North Carolina. It's happening this Thursday, and Sam, I know you're very excited for it. You've been to a couple of U.S. Opens in person.
I have. Went to the 06 U.S. Open at Winged Foot and the 09 one at Bethpage. They went to the PGA Championship last year up in Rochester, New York.
Give me your favorite moment of those 3 major tournaments. Your favorite moment when you were there.
Favorite in-person moment?
In-person moment.
Oh, boy. You really put me on. Well, it's got to be the first one that I went to, the one at Winged Foot. Just that entire day, because of the way it happened. I'll get into it real quick. I was a freshman in high school.
I shouldn't bother.
Hey, well, you asked, but I was a freshman in high school, and I got out of school, and exams were starting on that week, my first ever final exams, and I got a call from our dad, and he goes, "Oh, What are you doing tomorrow? I was like, I don't know. I got exams and I got a baseball game. He goes, well, I got tickets to the U.S. Open, so you want to go to that? I was like, yeah. And he called the school. I ended up taking my exams making up the
Were you
exams the
sick?
next week. What?
Were you sick, or were you going? Were you?
Oh, I was sick.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I saw our principal at the time, Mr. Ziogas. I was wearing my U.S. Open shirt when I went back. He's like, oh, did you go? I was like, yeah, I went this weekend. I don't think he would have cared.
I don't either.
But because I actually, in 2009, when I went again, I missed graduation practice to go to the U.S. Open. Not that graduating, but whatever. It was a whirlwind because my plan that freshman year was to not even watch the U.S. Open. I was like, I got to study for exams. I got baseball. I don't have time for this.
You now watching golf?
I ended up coming home, turning on the
It's like me not
TV,
watching
watching
college
the
basketball.
golf. I barely studied, but obviously I turned out all right, kind of. But yeah, this year's U.S. Open, it's no Tiger Woods, but still a lot of intriguing storylines. Roy McIlroy playing better. The defending U.S. champion Justin Rose, Pinehurst is a big storyline because it's been remade to go back to what it was originally as more of a links type golf course where everything just kind of runs together. It had turned into more of a traditional golf course, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays. And, of course, you got Phil Mickelson trying to complete the career Grand Slam after the Open Championship last year. The 6 runner-up finishes at the Open, the U.S. Open for Phil, so including one last year at Marion. So we're gonna see if he can get it done. He has been playing great this year. He's been playing better of late. So we'll see if he can get himself back into contention one other time. But I think you got to like a guy like Matt Kuchar at an event like this, or Zach Johnson, guys who are very good tee to green, hit the fairways, hit a lot of greens. Jordan Spieth has been fantastic, and Jim Furyk, another guy that comes to mind. So a lot of guys that have a chance to win it. This thing is really wide open.
Before we move on to LB updates, Sam, we're obviously big-time UConn men's basketball fans, and here's our chance to talk about them. They're at the White House yesterday.
They were. Stephanie Dolson taking a bit of a tumble.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a good experience for all. And whenever you get to meet the president, it's truly an honor. So hopefully those guys and ladies had a good time at the White House.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they did. All right, to the MLB now. Manny Machado versus the Oakland A's this past weekend. It was eventful for him, for the 21-year-old third baseman. On Friday night against the Oakland A's, Machado was running from second to third base, and on his way, he kind of stopped, and Josh Donaldson went to tag him, and he thought Donaldson kind of tagged him too hard. I don't think so. Yeah,
it was fine.
It was perfectly fine. Machado,
he was already losing his balance because he was trying to jump back.
Yeah, so Machado fell back, threw his helmet down, and then got in the face of Donaldson. I didn't see anything wrong with Donaldson.
And as we were taught when we played, when we were being taught rundowns at the high school level, obviously different at the major league level, tag him hard.
Yeah.
So the umpire knows you tagged him.
And yell out.
I don't know if they do that at the major league level, but tag him hard so it's known that you tagged him. And that wasn't a hard tag. It wasn't.
And then later in the game, Donaldson was throwing at. That's what baseball players do. It's for retaliation. Then on Sunday, there was an inside pitch thrown by A's pitcher Fernando Abad, and Machado didn't like it. So the next pitch, bat comes flying out of his hands. Went down the third baseline, but Sam,
it was intentional.
You saw on the replay.
He was trying to throw it towards Abad at the mound. Both ended up getting ejected, benches cleared, and now coming out today, saying that Manny Machado might be demoted, might be sent down to Single A until because he has been playing great. Sent down to Triple A. He has been playing great. He was hurt, missed the first month of the season after knee surgery, following getting hurt late last season. He hit 283 last year, hitting just 229 this year. So might be a good idea to send him down so he can get his head right and get things moving back in the right direction because he has a world of talent.
He certainly does. And, this is really the first kind of outbreak that we've seen, at least publicly, on the field from Machado. So, that actually brings a good point. The general manager, Dan Daka, just made those comments about demoting him. Maybe there's some stuff in the locker room Dan Duquette that we don't know about.
Dan Daka is the announcer.
Yeah. But maybe
there could be. Yeah, this is the first one we've seen publicly, but there very well could be some behind the scenes instances with Manny Machado that obviously the public wouldn't know about. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, things can get straightened out for him.
Last night, Cleveland Indians third baseman Looney Chisenhall had a night to remember. In a 17-7 rout to the Texas Rangers, Chisenhall went 5 for 5, 3 runs, 3 home runs, and 9 RBIs. That ties an Indians franchise record. And in only 161 at-bats this year, Chisenhall's batting average went up from 365 to 385, so 20 points. And just what a great night for the third baseman.
And not a guy who was a star by any stretch of the imagination. Simply put, a good night at the office.
Yeah, that's for sure. And his RBI for the season went from 23 to 32, just like that. And I got to imagine Francona will put him back in the lineup tonight.
You have to, don't you? I mean, ride him till he dies. Ride him till he cools off a bit.
And actually, our father will get a chance to see him play.
That's right.
'Cause
I missed it by a night.
Because the Indians will be in Kansas City, and our father's business trip, as much as business trips goes for him with
Well, he
sporting
works,
events.
but
No,
he plans
does
it
work.
around.
Oh, I know.
He plans it around
Oh,
it.
I know. I mean,
He's going to a Rockies game in a couple of weeks, I think.
he's going to the All-Star game.
He's going to the All-Star game. Hey, played Olympia Country Club a couple of weeks ago where they had the U.S. Open a few years ago.
And he told me he needs to sit down and think about this. But Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City it's another check off the list for Major League ballparks. I'm not sure. Has he been to Colorado?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
I have no idea.
I mean, we've been to some ballparks, but he's been to more obviously business trips. Hopefully, for our careers, we get to go to all of them
That would be the hope.
multiple times. So, all right, now it's for Sam's favorite segment of the day, Stump the Bro.
It's time to stump the bro. All right, well, we both got our questions right last time, so it's 3-1. Brian in the lead. I'm going to get things started this week. We talked about Lonnie Chisenhall, the 9 RBIs last night. Well, who was the last Major League Baseball player to have 10 RBIs in a game? Garrett Anderson of the Angels, Albert Pujols. Did you look at this earlier?
This is my question.
Is it?
This is my same exact question.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to scrap that question, huh?
Yeah. This is awkward.
This is awkward. Do we scrap the segment for this week? All right, here we go. In the 1999 National Championship game for UConn, which guard scored 13 first-half points? Do you know this?
I mean, come on. This is before my time.
Was it?
I was 4 years
But
old.
you've watched the video.
Yeah.
Was it Richard Hamilton, Khalid El-Amin, or Ricky Moore?
Yeah, I could have told you that one of the 3 candidates. God dang. It's not We Shocked the World guy. I'm going to go with Rip Hamilton.
Wrong. It was Ricky Moore.
Dang it.
Yes. Let's go.
All right. Now
This is big here. This is big.
I got to think of a question.
Let's
though.
go. On the fly.
Okay.
On the fly. And by the way, World Cup gets underway Thursday. We didn't touch upon that. U.S., their first game. This is giving you time to think here. Don't listen to me. U.S.'s first game is Monday the 16th at 6 p.m. against Ghana. Wonder if they're going to roll the TV out and play the World Cup at our wedding next week. Not our wedding, but our cousin's
Our wedding. I mean, Ken will be there, so
Ken will be there. If Ghana's playing,
there's a good possibility. Man, I really.
So is this an automatic right for Sam because you can't think of a question?
Hold on. Let's go to just MLB trivia and.
Should I X out on my MLB trivia?
Yeah. Yep. Oh my, really?
I didn't read past the first one.
Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit more. Okay. That's too hard.
Our listeners are, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're not too happy right now.
No.
God, I don't even know who these people are.
You got 10 seconds. If you don't come up with something in 10 seconds, it's an automatic right for Sam. 10, 9, 8.
I got it.
All right.
I got it.
Let's go.
Which team was the last? This is a Major League Baseball question. Which team was the last to win 10 games in a row? Your choices are the Boston Red Sox, the Los Angeles Dodgers, or the Cleveland Indians.
Cleveland Indians.
Correct.
Yes. Woo! 3-2, baby.
They won an 11-game winning streak from September 19, 2013 to March 31st, 2014. See, come on. We have the same question.
Say.
I actually go and do the research and think of a good question, and then you get it, and that's how you get it right.
What are you talking about? You looked at the first one on the list just like me. I didn't have time to find one today.
Yeah, but at least I did this earlier.
Hey, you didn't put too much more effort into it than I did if you just saw the first one and went with it.
Do you
Yeah,
see
I
this
see what you
7-page
did.
packet
You
of
don't have to do
nuts?
7 pages.
Well, that's what I like to do. All you do is show up here. You get half the credit. Your name is first on everything, and I'm doing all the work.
I'm the talent.
I made the website.
I helped you.
With what?
Pointed at some things. All right.
Okay.
You've been listening to the Sports Brothers podcast. Sam and Brian Dostler. It's Monday, July. No, it's not Monday, July. It is Monday. Nope, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday,
Yeah, you're
June
the talent.
10th,
You're the talent, bro.
2014. Be sure to check us on Twitter at the Sports Brothers. The website. What's the website?
The sportsbrothersblog.wordpress.com.
All right, check us there. You can find all the information on us on those 2 media platforms. Thanks a lot for listening, and we will talk to you later this week.